Never quit.
Go hard, go tough, and see if you can get it done.
Kind of sounds like you never want to give up.
Being tough, being strong, being able to outlast everybody.
Whatever life throws at you, just deal with it and get tough.
I think it speaks to Pioneer Days, the reason we're here and have all these celebrations and are able to have rodeos and mix a little cowboy tough with it, and you get Salt Lake gritty. I like it.
Hello, my name is Arian Lewis, and welcome to Models of the Future Workplace. We're here at Silicon Slopes, and it's my pleasure to be joined today by Cassie Whitlock, Director of HR for Bamboo HR. That's serious pressure there, folks. Like, Director of HR for an HR company.
A-game every day.
A-game every day. That's pretty cool. We are fortunate to be here, sponsored by R0. R0.com. This is really cool technology that you can use to clean and purify your space using the advanced UVC technology that they've built into their robots. If you want to learn more, you should definitely check them out at R0.com. And just as by introduction, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Kiln. Kiln is a creative workspace and culture for primarily early stage tech companies. We have about 250 tech companies that call Kiln home here in Utah, in Salt Lake, Park City, and Lehigh. We are now expanding to Boise, Idaho, and we have a location in Boulder as well.
Congratulations, that's exciting.
Thank you very much. And we work with a lot of small, medium businesses, but you work with even more. Bamboo HR, HR platform. Give us just the quick upshot. What is Bamboo HR, so anybody listening can understand?
Right. So Bamboo HR, we focus on creating technologies that support your human capital management activities, right? Your people. And so we try to automate and bring technology in so that you can really focus on the things that are important, which is your people. You can engage in culture, but one of my favorite parts is that you have data at your fingertips, and it is so awesome to use data to help drive your organizational decisions. There's no better way to do it. And so whether it's maintaining your personnel files or running payroll and time off, your benefits, even culture and engaging with and getting feedback from your employees and teams, that's what we're there to support, so that you're really focused on the high value activities that usually only humans can do, and computers don't do quite so well at.
Super cool. And today we're going to hear a little bit about some of that data, aren't we? Some of the insights that you guys have gleaned. Just by sort of way of information, how many companies do you work with at Bamboo HR?
I stopped counting. When I joined the company originally, I was early on, and I knew every client's name, but we're in the tens of thousands. And
tens of thousands. Wow. So lots of people, lots of culture in those companies, and you're connected through your platform.
Yes.
To them. And so let's just start by talking about what you began to see as the pandemic kind of hit us, and then what was changing in your organization as well as the organizations that you serve. So first 6 months of the pandemic, what was that like for you?
I think a lot of us went through very similar things in that we were doing the unscripted playbook, right? There was never done it before, and what are we going to do? And so the idea of leaning in quickly, rapid comms, constant contact, that was the game that you played to try and figure out what's next, because nobody knew what was coming. I know that for us, we were not sure what was going to happen with the economy. Especially,
yeah, there was uncertainty for sure.
Yeah, especially with small and medium businesses, right? That's the backbone of our economy, and yet they're the most vulnerable when it comes to some of the ways that communities were shutting down and businesses were being closed for, regulations and safety, but are people going to go out of business? And so for us, like, we went into a hiring freeze, we went into a pay freeze, trying to make sure we could protect jobs as much as we could. And then, of course, we were watching our clients and how successful they're being. And it was so, heartwarming to see how businesses pulled together, that the employees in each organization really stepped up to try and make sure that their businesses stayed as healthy as they could, that their team members were being looked after, and it was kind of that group experience of pulling together that I think got most small and medium businesses through some of those economic pain points that were so scary and unpredictable.
Did you have to change things in your product or the way your product worked with the companies that you were serving in the early parts of the pandemic?
No, that was probably one of the most rewarding things is, yes, our product's available on computer, but it's also mobile-based. And so, if people are going remote or you're getting really creative with how your people get their work done, we're there and accessible through, several different ways of using technology.
So how did your strategy specifically change as a company? You're director of HR. How did your strategy change, and maybe what do you think is going to actually continue to remain in place? And then what did you start to see from the companies that you serve?
So we recently sent out a survey to our client base, and we have over 1,000 organizations respond. And I loved the parallels that I saw. So for our bamboo team, our bambooligans, which we affectionately call them.
Bamboo what?
Bambooligans.
Bambooligans. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Bambooligans.
Oh, bambooligans, like the hooligans.
Yes.
But the bambooligans. Okay, interesting. So now if I show up and I want to kind of hang out with your folks, I can just I'm a bambooligan.
I'm a bambooligan.
Okay,
yep.
I got that.
You can get adopted in really easily.
Super.
So come on over. It was the quick shift to, instead of the office being that center hub and glue and office perks and these things that allow for deeper connection and feeling valued and belonging, all of a sudden it's happening in our individual homes.
Yep.
And so we saw this big shift. Great Places to Work did a survey as well, and they also found the same thing where it went from kind of talking about, I know that I'm seen and cared about because of kind of some of the office behaviors and perks, and it turned into, I genuinely feel loved.
But how did that happen?
So I think it related to how we all tried to look out for each other, right? We turned on a dime. We said, everybody's going remote, starting right now. And folks picked up their laptops and went home, and then the next day we were all up and working. And but we started we asked all our leaders, have a daily stand-up with your team. Ask how people are doing. Let's be human first, and then we can get to the work. Because if we ignore the human needs, think Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah.
If we can't take care of those base needs, then the work is not going to get done, and it won't be the focus. And so you're caring more. We've all seen that in the working remote experience, we're in people's homes. You see littles running in the background. You've got family pets entering your Zoom calls, delivery doorbells, all sorts of personal behavioral activities coming into work that didn't exist before. And it was interesting to watch how many times people will apologize. You're on a Zoom call.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah.
Right? It's something you can't control. And so,
Yep.
as you say, what did we see and what's going to carry forward? One of my hopes is that we all build these new social norms and kind of social expectations with one another. We're adopting a hybrid work model.
Okay.
Which means, where do you do your best work? Work there.
So it's individual based.
Yes.
That's your strategy.
For us, flexibility, options, and personal choice matter. So our vision is to set people free to do great work. And as we talked about you know, what should this look like going forward? Because we can reinvent ourselves. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And we started with, you know, what is the purpose of the office?
Yeah,
Why does
so what is
even
it
exist?
for Bamboo HR? What is it?
For us, it's a place to learn, it's a place to collaborate, and it's a place to connect. And then for individual choice, it's a place for productivity.
Okay. And so how does that actually work now? Is it kind of just come into the office when you want to, or how does it work for Bamboo HR?
So right now we're doing a prototype.
Okay,
so we're
cool.
trying to be intentional.
Beta Bamboo.
Yeah, beta bamboo,
Yeah.
And go through phases
I
because
hope you don't get bamboozled
no, we're
by
not
the
going to.
bambooligans.
Bamboozled bambooligans. Boy, this is going to get tricky.
Yes, it's a good beta.
Yes. We want to learn, but when we say we want to learn, we really want to learn from how each individual is experiencing it, and how they're able to feel supported, have the resources they need to be effective, and then, of course, have that vision and alignment of we're all on one team together. So we're trying out different things, and does this work? Whether it's individuals learning to build that success muscle in a new way of thinking about work, teams, the way that we're kind of looking at driving deadlines, how we want to communicate. We've made the decision that we do monthly all-hands company updates, and that's going to remain virtual going forward. Our why, as part of this, we're also expanding geographically where we hire. We are looking to, we know that there's a really tight labor market here, which is hard, but we're also looking to just better diversify our employee base, and so expanding geographically we think is a really good option for our organization.
Increasing diversity within the company.
Yeah.
So just how many employees do you have here in Utah? Approximately.
We've probably got 800.
About 800. It's a lot. And do you have, where's your HQ or your office?
So we're down in Linden in Utah County.
So in Linden. Do you have just one office in Utah, or do you have multiple?
We're spread across 3 buildings, but we're
Okay.
on the same campus.
Got it, in Linden.
Yes.
So what do you think is going to happen? Like how much does the actual physical layout of your offices change? Does the physical workspace change for Bamboo HR as a result of these new policies? Or are you still, I know you're in beta.
Yes.
But
Some of it will. We're not leaning into a lot of physical adaptation right now. Right now we're leaning into tech adaptation.
interesting. Can you give an
So,
example?
Ensuring the way that we use Zoom for our meetings, but making sure if you have in-office people and then remote, is the conference room set up for a high-quality experience Zoom
For both parties.
for both parties.
Sure.
And I was mentioning one of the things that I think we have the opportunity, if we're intentional going forward, is building these new social behaviors. So for me, on our team, you come to a meeting and you don't turn on your camera. Are you really there? Are you present? And is that fair to your coworkers?
Yes. You camera turner offers.
It's okay if there's like a thing in the background.
It's not okay. Put your pants on. Turn your camera on. Get
if you're
engaged.
going to sneeze, you can turn
That's
the camera.
right.
But establishing kind of a social contract with each other, an expectation of how you interact, how it shows support, how it helps to create better understanding and better communication. I think that's going to be critical to saying, you know, do hybrid work models work?
Yeah.
Because it's the hardest model to choose.
Well, I mean, it's kind of, is the choice ours anymore, do you think?
Well, in this survey we sent out, 87% of employees have new expectations of their employers. They
Okay.
want work to be different going forward.
And in what way?
Well, it's going to be different for individuals and the industries you're in.
But were there any broad insights? I mean, apart from we want the option to work virtually, was there anything else that was sort of key that came out?
Flexibility is big.
In what way?
So a lot of it relates to where and when work gets done, which can be difficult. So, if you own a store, you have to be present in the store.
Yeah, there's a physical presence.
The store
that's
hours,
needed.
are fixed. And so how do you identify places where you can be flexible versus it's essential to the business success? So there's some conflicting interest there. Another place that we've seen is a majority of employees reported having less contact with their managers. And with the contact they had, it felt less meaningful.
That's really interesting.
And so I think this is that virtual experience, the 2D human on the video screen, and do we actually connect in the same ways than when we're in person?
So are there some insights to counteract that?
This is one, how good are we as leaders of people? We're never good enough. And so I think we need to commit to being on a journey. It's not a destination, but be on the journey of being a better manager. Two, we tend to think hierarchically, sometimes as a society or within businesses. I love the Team One concept that Patrick Lencioni talks about. And can we tap into we, Team One, can create the experience, because it can't all rest on the manager. That leader needs to be really, really good, and they need to be facilitating an environment that promotes and demands that.
Can I ask you a really candid question? Do you think that there needs to be more managers per employee or per head count as a result of the pandemic?
I don't think so. So people generally know how to do their work.
Okay.
So what is the role of a leader? They should be creating alignment. They should be helping with focus. Leaders should be removing roadblocks. Leaders should be understanding pain points, helping with solutions. But they're also essential in creating connection. I'm a very kind of spreadsheet-minded person. And so I have to be intentional to make sure I'm also very human, instead of just like running down this list of things in my head. In how I operate and think about work. So it's less about more leaders, and in the time when you're interacting, are you making it count?
Okay, that's interesting. So it's not necessarily we need more resource, we need more management, but we really, really need to make sure that it counts when we have those connections. How, just for a manager that's listening, what do you mean make it count? Like, what is that technically?
Well, okay, so here comes the spreadsheet, right? What are the outcomes you're trying to drive? First and foremost, do you care about that person that you're talking to? Do you care about them both in being successful in their role? But even beside that, do you just care about them because they exist?
So you're saying compassion. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Because I don't know if I've ever been in a management seminar that's about compassion. But you're saying that's the adaptation that's needed in managers today?
It is.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, actually, because I think that we got a lot of compassion from coworkers a little bit more when we were all together physically. We'd all kind of gripe and moan a little bit with each other, or talk about, that girlfriend or boyfriend that's been, on our minds, or whatever. I mean, we were able to kind of have that cathartic experience with each other. Now we can't, but the manager is now that point of connection where, how are you doing? What's on your mind? What's going on in your life, kind of thing. Compassionate management. The correlation between compassion management and hybrid work is interesting, isn't it? I think that's what I'm hearing.
If we want people to feel connected to your organization, they have to feel. I love the quote by Maya Angelou, and she says, people will forget what you said.
Yeah.
People will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel.
I love that. The one thing that this kind of brings up to me, and Cassie, you're a senior executive in your organization. You're in Utah. You're a woman. There aren't a lot of senior executives in Utah that are women. But the rise of the compassionate manager, the empathetical manager, could actually open up more opportunities for women to grow in organizations. Do you think that's true?
Absolutely. And I don't think it needs to be even gender defined.
Sure.
I think that women.
But there is a masculine sort of managerial
Yes.
style, right? Where it's more result. I'm being a little bit. I'm stereotyping a little bit.
For sure.
Please don't be angry with me, somebody out there who might feel like I'm handling this the wrong way. But the point I'm driving at is there is a management style that has been taught for decades that is not necessarily the compassionate, empathetical manager style.
And I would even maybe explain it in broader terms. It's a holistic approach,
Okay.
right? Do I just care about you for the widget you produce? Mm-hmm. Or do I recognize that when I look at that whole person and I consider all of their abilities and needs, they can, at the end of the day, they can do better. I mean, it's still a business. We still have to have results from our work. But are we doing it in an elevated way? I think as a society, we have that capability. We just need to step into it and say, that's what we expect. And that's what we're hearing that employees want.
Interesting.
They want leaders that care. They want leaders that are invested. And I've been working with some new leaders in our org, and I said, in your one-on-ones, have an agenda, and the very first bullet point needs to be, how are you?
Good.
What's going on in your world?
That's a tactic. That's a tactical move.
Yeah.
That's something you've engineered into your process, but it drives a human outcome, like a good holistic outcome.
Yes.
Okay, let's just talk about now strategy moving forward for the SMBs that you support. What do you think has changed fundamentally for them? We know hybrid work. We know that there's going to be hybrid work. What else?
I think it's important so there's a lot of talk of, hey, pandemic, going back to work, but it's kind of anchored back to the pandemic. And I think it's important to say, when we were in the pandemic, we saw employees doubling down because they were terrified about losing their jobs. Just as businesses were unsure, what's the economic impact?
Yeah, there was actually a little spike in productivity, wasn't there?
There was. Yeah. There was a significant spike in some instances. I know with our own employees, we surveyed them, and both employees and managers reported better productivity. But they're in survival mentality. And so it's not going to have the same outcomes when we no longer have those pressures. And so we have to think differently and approach it different. So one, don't anchor to COVID and a pandemic and the survival responses that exist in that. And so then it's really about envisioning the future of what great work looks like at your organization, and you're building the future, not recovering from the past.
Interesting. That isn't a change of mindset. Focus on the future, not recovering from the past. This is not a recovery. This is a evolution. Is that how you think of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you are in a very unique position because you are an HR organization. You head HR. You work with the HR leads for many, many, many companies. Is there anything else that people are worried about or concerned about that you're working on solutions for?
Coming back to connecting and culture, especially where you're looking at people being remote and in hybrid settings, how do you keep tabs, not necessarily on work getting done, which I think that there's a couple of worries there we can talk about, but really, how are people feeling? How are they experiencing your organization? You've designed a lot of things to help have a powerful employer value proposition, and is it working? Are you getting the ROI on what you're building and that exchange of value between the business and your employees? There's worries about the office has always been, if you're seen and heard, is that the person that gets promoted? Is that going to be even worse?
This is a real
hybrid
thing.
World.
This is a very real thing because absolutely, I mean, we all know that there's something to that. I mean, does upward mobility within organizations become a concern for the remote worker?
Well, exactly. In the survey we sent out, we actually found that employees of color feel that they have a higher cliff to crest and more work to do in order to have that equal or available promotion opportunity within a business.
Interesting.
And like that, as a human-minded person, it breaks my heart that any person would have to feel that way, let alone a group of people feeling, hey, I don't have the same opportunities.
Yeah. I'm at a disadvantage because of my color or my race or gender or whatever it is.
And then let's have distance and remoteness, and that just makes it harder. When they looked at generational groups, the Gen X or Gen Y, Gen Z groups are also saying we want our organizations to better engage in corporate social responsibility. We want them to be better focused and have strategies around diversity, equity, inclusion. So again, the workforce is saying we as a society are at a place and we're expecting as a group that we all level up, and businesses play a critical role because that's where we spend most of our living time in workplaces, and we want those workplaces to be supporting just better human outcomes as a society. Better equality, better inclusion, and what does that mean, and how are you going to get there as an organization? The thing that struck me from the survey is while people said this matters and we expect businesses to do this, they also didn't have very specific things that they wanted. And so I think that might acknowledge that we need to figure it out together, that there is no easy answer, there's no silver bullet. Yeah, and so that's an opportunity, you know, are we working with our employees as a team, as a community, to work together on having outcomes that make our society better, but remove barriers and unfair access that some of our team members experience. You know, I think most people are well-intentioned, but you have accidental outcomes, and then you just have things that are broken, and we need to fix those.
Like that. There are a lot of really great thoughts in there. And I do think the pandemic, it was a unifying experience. My friends in India or my friends in Israel or my friends in London, they were all experiencing the same thing. We were all going through this thing, and it was, we did realize that as a society, we are connected and that we do want to have impact. And of course, Black Lives Matter came up during the pandemic, and that highlighted again the need for us to feel like we're making progress on these important social issues.
Absolutely.
Well, on a final note, tell us, you know, you're kind of looking backward at this moment in time. What are the things that really persevere after this? How has the workplace fundamentally changed for the future, better or for worse?
I think letting go of old mindsets, right? There's the old thinking of, if I'm a manager, how do I know if my team is working unless I can walk by their desk and see that?
Got it, yeah.
Right? That's, like, where did that even come from? It doesn't even make sense if you step back and look at it. Either we're hitting results or we're not.
It's really measurement. What you're basically saying is you need to find better ways to understand the productivity of your workforce.
Right. Or
Plug for Bamboo HR.
There you go. But even just are we as leaders, do we have a mindset that's very narrow and that the only way to do it is to see it? Instead of, can you trust data and do you measure things effectively? And maybe that's really at the root of the problem is we're not good at measuring. And so as organizations, can we build that so that we're not worried about that? And then it goes into the trust issue, right? Am I trusted? And this is where I go back to being holistic, human-focused. You hired somebody, you vetted them for their talents and skills, and are we supporting them or are we doubting them?
I like that. Good. Anything else, Cassie? Cassie, Jedi Master of HR.
Bamboo Ligon at large.
Yes.
just business is such a great opportunity, and I love the ability that we have to make a difference in people's lives, whether it's through the products and services that we create, but also the individual experiences. We've all gone home from work and had a bad day, and you go home and you yell at the pet, and it just impacts everything. So I love the opportunities that we have to be intentional about how we treat each other and how that will make a difference both in our business outcomes, but also just as a society, that we are better people because we care more and understand each other better.
Awesome. There's some amazing thoughts. I wish we could spend more time. I bet you can glean a little bit more if you go to Bamboo. Is it bamboohr.com?
Yes, .com. And our survey is available. You can go there and download it, look at that data, and then go talk to your people, understand how they're experiencing some of those very problems.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time. And for those that have been listening, thanks for joining us again on Models of the Future Workplace. It's been a really fun conversation, and I think that just like other big moments in history, we will all look back on this time, particularly these next couple of months, and say, this was the time to not look backward at and consider ourselves in a recovery, but really look forward and understand the strategies that are going to enable our organizations to succeed in the future. Bamboo HR, thank you, and thank you to R0, our sponsor, r0.com. Super cool technology keeping offices clean and safe. And thank you, of course, to Silicon Slopes, and hope to see you again. Cheers.